The name and estate of an artist rising in value post-mortem is nothing new. I mean, nobody even gave a shit about Van Gogh while the guy was still alive. But in the guitar scene, I've noticed this being a particularly big issue, and what recently drew my attention back to it was this. And this, while I couldn't be any less of an active fan or listener of Van Halen's music, I just find a bit insulting. So today, let's talk about how companies are and have been milking the names of dead artists for much too long. Let's start with what I just showed you, the new EVH Frankenstein Relic series. EVH, of course, being the gear company formerly of Eddie Van Halen, you know, the guy from that one episode of 2.5 Men.
Let's go. 2 burritos and a root beer float.
And now just a different company under the Fender umbrella who manufactures Fender guitars and presses a different vector image onto the headstock. But I digress. Eddie was obviously famous for playing his Frankenstrat, a parts caster that he'd built and then mangled beyond recognition in ways that are unique, but very easy to replicate in a factory because they were essentially originally DIY'd by some guy in his basement. And that's how EVH eventually started selling Frankenstrat replicas. And that is cool, because not only were they able to recreate the up electronics and half-broken pickguard of the original, but they also made a one-to-one recreation of the iconic stripe look. Now fast forward a couple of years, and to celebrate the 4th of July, Guitar Center is sending out email newsletters to everybody, letting them know about these things. Offering a Frankenstrat in different color combinations, such as black and yellow, is cool. I had to look this up, but Eddie did have a black and yellow Frankenstrat of his own, and that still features the iconic stripe design that everybody and their grandma associates with EVH. I mean, if you've ever seen KDH's channel, have you ever wondered why his set background is the letters KDH taped onto the wall in a stripe pattern like this? Because that is a universally recognizable reference to Van Halen. Again, I am not a Van Halen fan. The music has just never resonated with me. It's never been for me. But that man would not have touched this guitar. This is not Eddie Van Halen's guitar. This is about as soulless as it gets, because all they've done is taken a Fender Strat, taken some 60 grit to it, and then sacrilegiously slapped Eddie Van Halen's name across it. Sure, they recreated all the other aspects to make it related to Eddie Van Halen. They put the Floyd Rose detuner on it. They did all the f***ed up electronics, the half pickguard. They made it look gross and used and dirty. But what is that color? How are these finish options related to Eddie Van Halen? But this is not all. Let's move on from Eddie Van Halen for a second and move on to somebody else. Dimebag Darrell. Again, not a player I'm personally a huge fan of, but I don't need to be in order to find this incredibly annoying. There is perhaps no dead guitar player in the world whose name has been slapped across so much shit that he never even lived to use, and most of which I'm convinced he wouldn't have touched with a 10-foot pole. And while Dimebag's estate has since shit-canned all affiliations with Dean Guitars, Dean still played a big role in why I wanted to make this video. So let's start with this thing, the Far Beyond Driven ML. Now again, I'm not deep into the Dimebag lore or anything, so when I googled Far Beyond Driven ML, I was actually surprised to see that this thing is referred to as the Far Beyond Driven ML. I'm gonna assume because he used this to record that album, but I don't mean this, I mean the literal Far Beyond Driven ML sold by Dean. This €314 Dean guitar with the literal Far Beyond Driven album art screen printed across the top, a Floyd Rose special, and a single Dean DMT design humbucker. This is tragic. I'm not sure if it's quite as tragic as the demo video on the Gear for Music YouTube channel. But it's pretty bad. And as you can see in that video, they did it with multiple album covers too. Now, at least they didn't try to make this some grossly overpriced thing, but given Dimebag's taste in guitars while he was alive, I'm pretty sure he at least would have played a high-end ML with his album art printed onto it, as opposed to this entry-level garbage that they've just... It's just such poor quality. This is just so bad. Hey, what's poppin'? It's speed ad break time, and today's video is brought to you by me, more specifically my YouTube school, LYM Academy. Now I know what you're thinking, what does this guy want to teach me about YouTube? He has 35,000 subscribers. But A, if you're watching this, then I can confidently say there is about a 99.8% chance that you don't have 35,000 subscribers, and B, I've been doing YouTube full-time for about a year and a half in spite of sub count. Because subscribers do not matter, views and money do. Case in point, here is my second channel, 7string TV. I started this channel relatively recently and it's currently sitting at just over 2,500 subscribers. However, in the past month, it has gained over 3,000 hours of watch time as well as almost 50,000 views, and as of a week ago, it is monetized. I haven't just spent the past 3 years doing YouTube with sort of no idea what I'm actually doing. I've dedicated those years to finding out and learning how YouTube works, and I can share that knowledge with you now. So if you have a channel that just isn't gaining as much traction as you were hoping for, and you sit there 20 times a day refreshing YouTube Studio hoping for a couple of new views or a new comment, and there just aren't any, then not only is there a link in the description to sign up for LYM Academy, but also a link to a completely free long-form YouTube mastery webinar to share some of my knowledge with you and help make you the best YouTuber you can be. So hit either of those links and I'll see you on the other side. Back to the video. Another thing that comes to mind is the Dean Razorback. Now, a lot of people don't know this. I didn't until quite recently. But Dimebag never actually got to play a Razorback. He designed it, but he never actually got to play his first one before he died. Meaning there technically is a non-zero chance that he would have picked up that first ML and gone, nah, this shit sucks actually, let's not produce this. And the same goes for the MXR DD11 Dime Distortion pedal. One of the worst distortion pedals that I know, and more importantly, one that sounds nothing like Dimebag. He was involved in the process of developing it, he was making a signature pedal with MXR, but he never actually lived to use it in anything, leaving MXR with license to just print his face on the casing and sell it to fans who would then be disappointed by it sounding nothing like Dimebag. Gee, I wonder why this sounds nothing like Dimebag. Maybe because Dimebag's tone came from a Randall power amp paired with a Furman 4-band EQ. Thank God they discontinued that thing. I mean, if you have one, you're gonna agree that it's garbage. I know who does agree that it doesn't sound anything like Dimebag. Perhaps the world's biggest fan of Dimebag, Ola England, who has extensively tested it on his channel and come to the conclusion that, no, this is not the key to Dimebag tone. And of course you can't forget that the Dean Razorback ML is actually the reason that eventually affiliations with Dean were terminated, because they were not paying Dimebag's estate their percentage of the money they were making off of the Razorbacks. Which is even more fucked up, because not only were they making a boatload of money off of a signature model for a dead artist who never got to play or approve it in the first place, but they were now not paying out the fraction of their profits to the family of the person who is the only reason anybody is buying these hideous things in the first place. How about Alexi from Children of Bodom? Been dead for a couple of years now. Why not sell a brand new ESP Greenie Flying V with his name on it for $7,000? Let's look at the specs first though. Let's give these people the benefit of the doubt. Older body, ebony fretboard, original Floyd Rose, 1 EMG HZ. Hold on, that sounds awfully familiar. Oh, there it is. ESP E2 M2 neck through BLK. Neck through construction, older body, ebony fretboard, Floyd Rose original, and this one has 2 EMGs in it. Anybody want to guess the price? Anyone? Drum roll please. If you guessed less than $7,000, bingo. This means that if you blindly A/B tested these two guitars, there would be no conceivable difference, because they are the same guitar made by the same company, just in 2 different shapes. And I mean, the Greenie was being sold as a signature model before Alexi's death too, but it was sold with near identical specs, just made somewhere else, I assume, for like $2,000, not $7,000. And I'm not saying that companies should discontinue an artist's signature gear as soon as they die or anything. It's still cool for fans to be able to buy and play something that the artist designed, and unless you're dealing with Dean guitars, I assume it's also quite nice for the families to receive the occasional royalty check. What I have a problem with is a company only really starting to milk an artist's name once they are dead, because they're no longer there to say, hold on, I would never have touched this shit, what the fuck are you doing? And notice how this isn't being done with living players, because sure, there are $5,000 Eric Clapton signature custom shop models being built and sold, but A, $5,000 for a custom shop Fender sadly is sort of the standard, and still not quite as bad as $7,000, and B, this guitar, overpriced as it may be, spec-wise, is exactly what Eric Clapton plays. But when that racist old sack kicks the bucket, what if Fender comes around the corner and goes, okay, we still own the rights to using his name on guitars, hear me out, Clapton signature Strat, except we make it $20,000 and paint it hot pink. Oh yeah, great idea, this will go swimmingly for us. No, because Clapton would never touch that thing, because he probably thinks pink is gay, and I'm just gonna go ahead and assume he probably hates gay people. And I'm not even saying fans won't buy these fucking hideous EVH signatures of everything else that's being offered that I'm mentioning in this video. I'm just saying that it shouldn't be offered in the first place. I mean, people are buying drugs too. That's not like there shouldn't be cocaine dealers out on the street. That doesn't mean no one's buying it. And I'm not even getting offended on the family's behalves or anything, like, oh, these people have no respect for the dead. I'm not concerned about the individual in this situation as much as this pattern across the entire music industry of manufacturers reading obituaries and going, oh fuck yeah, I've been waiting for this cunt to bite the dust for years. Quick, honey, call the Bentley dealership. And that is the point. Whatever successful signature gear already exists, keep that in circulation and do not dramatically raise the price, you vultures. And also do not come out and say, oh, introducing the brand new signature model for this guy who has been under the ground for the past 4 years. So I'm going to end this unhinged rant here. Thank you so much for watching. Latest video, subscribe, and watch something else over here, and I'll see you around.